All right, folks, some breaking news. The Supreme Court has announced it is going to take up the Colorado decision to kick Donald Trump off of the ballot. This is the headline in the New York Times. The justices are going to determine whether Colorado's decision is an appropriate one. Guys, pull it up. So that's what's going on here. Of course, oral arguments will take place on February 8th. Maine has also made the determination to kick him off of the ballot. Huge decision. Let's talk about it with our panel. Matt Manning, civil rights attorney, joins us now out of Corpus Christi. Also, we have Kemet Bethea, communication strategist out of D.C. Michael Imhotep, host African History Network show out of Detroit. Glad to have all three of y'all. Happy New Year. Matt, initially the court was like, all right, you know, the lower court got to hear it first. Now, after Maine's decision, they realized, yeah, kind of got to get off your butt. Here's the deal, though. He will remain on the March 5th Colorado ballot. But the question is, if they rule in favor of Colorado, then what happens to his name? At the end of the day, they were going to have to make this decision anyway. Okay. And frankly, what they should have announced in December was they were going to be hearing this in January. That's what they should have done.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think they should have, taken it up with haste because it's such an important question. I'm glad that they've taken it up. I was, not sure what they were going to do. And thinking about this legally, what's really interesting about this issue is really whether the Supreme Court has to review the Colorado decision, what's called de novo, or whether they review it for an abuse of discretion. And what that means is when an appellate court is looking at a prior court's decision, sometimes they review it to say, okay, did they make a mistake? We're going to give full deference to their decision. And then other times they say, we're going to look at the issue anew, de novo, meaning we're going to take a new look at it. So the reason that analysis is important and that I've been really kind of interested in seeing how this plays out is because if they do it from an abuse of discretion standpoint, if they give that judge in Colorado discretion, then it's going to be problematic for the Trump team because presumably they're going to say that judge heard evidence and made an evidentiary ruling that he engaged in an insurrection. Therefore, we have no reason to think that she did not apply the law correctly or that her evaluation of the evidence was incorrect, things in that vein. However, if they look at it anew, then they'll be looking presumably just at the constitutional question. And what I think this comes down to, Roland, is really a question of whether the Constitution requires some kind of legal finding that somebody's engaged in an insurrection or whether it can be a factual finding. If it can be the latter, then I think the Supreme Court will come down on the side of he cannot be on the ballot where a state has determined he's engaged in an insurrection. If the Supreme Court construes it as saying there has to be a conviction or some kind of legal finding, then I think they will be ruling for Mr. Trump. And, I don't have any illusions to 6-3 conservative court, but that's how I see the legal issues in this. And that's what I think they'll be taking up when they're evaluating this case.
Well, the thing that's interesting here, Kelly, is that these strict constructionists, these people who believe in the literal interpretation of the Constitution, when you read Section 3, doesn't say conviction, doesn't say any of that. It says involvement in insurrection or you aided and abetted.
And not only that, it's these same people who are so gung-ho on states' rights, but when the state doesn't do what they want them to do on a national level, all of a sudden we got a problem. To echo Matt's point, I am glad that they're taking up the case, that Supreme Court is taking this question up. My fear is that even though I feel like it is constitutional for these individual states to do that, my concern is the ramifications of that being Republicans taking that and running with it, meaning they will come the next election. Hypothetically speaking, the Democrats have a candidate that the Republicans don't want on the ballot, and they will use this case, whichever way the Supreme Court rules on it, and use that case law, whatever it may be, to their advantage to take a Democrat off the ballot unnecessarily so. And we do have precedent for Republicans taking good law and twisting it into something that becomes corrupt. That's my only concern with this. But as far as what I know the 14th Amendment to be and how it's being applied in these individual states, it does seem like it is constitutionally sound. Again, my concern is how it is going to be applied in the future when it is in corrupt hands.
Well, I mean, here's the thing, Michael. Go to my iPad. I mean, this is the 14th Amendment. It says it's right. And again, if you actually read it, it lays out, no person, senator, representative, or elector, or a president, vice president. Now, here's the thing that's interesting. So the Trump people are trying to suggest that he's not, and I'll go back to it, trying to suggest that he's not an officer. Okay. Mm-hmm. And they are desperate to create this notion that the president is above and beyond everybody, that you cannot apply any law whatsoever to the president of the United States. What the problem with that logic is that the president is sworn to uphold and protect the Constitution from enemies within and abroad. And so there's this idea that, you somehow are in such a special category that nothing applies to you is absolutely bogus.
Yeah, it's absolutely bogus, but this is the hand that the Trump attorneys are dealt with. And this is this puts the 6-3 conservative majority Supreme Court in a quandary. And this is laid out in the piece from theatlantic.com that Adam Sewell wrote called "The Colorado Ruling Calls the Originalist Bluff." The Colorado ruling calls the originalist bluff. Now, to go to the original text or go to the intent, as you stated before, it does not say that you have to be convicted of being participating in an insurrection, okay, or anything like that. But if we look at correspondence from 1866 between two of the U.S. senators that helped to write the 14th Amendment, and I can't take credit for this. Alex Wagner revealed this on her show on MSNBC. It was a correspondence between Senator Reverdy Johnson and Senator Lord Morrill. And Senator Reverdy Johnson was asking, why doesn't it explicitly say bar the president or vice president? And Senator Lord Morrill that he said, let me call to the senator's attention to the phrase any. OK, and he was saying this also applies to president and vice president. They would be barred from holding office if they participated in an insurrection. So that correspondence will probably come up during the trial because it's clear. This applies to any office if you took an oath to defend the U.S. Constitution. And lastly, the Trump attorneys are saying, well, the oath that the president takes is different than is slightly different than what the House of Representatives takes or the U.S. Senate. It doesn't matter. It applies to any office, period. So he should be barred from being on any ballot in any of the 50 states.
That should be the case. We will see what happens. Cannot wait to hear those oral arguments, especially the gymnastics that Clarence Thomas, as well as Sam Alito, is likely going to try to create when they try to get around, especially these so-called these strict constructionists. All right, y'all.
Hotep, everybody. This is Michael Imhotep from the African History Network. Our Kwanzaa online history course bundle pack is on sale right now. We have a fantastic promotion for you. Get our bundle pack of 2 online history courses that I teach, as well as my 15 lecture downloadable bundle, African History Awakens the African Mind from Mental Death. These are both from me, Michael Imhotep. They're on sale right now for only $100. That's 76% off. My first online history class is Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Maafa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school. Kemet is one of the original names for Egypt. We deal with thousands of years of history and what leads up to the transatlantic slave trade taking place. I do a PowerPoint presentation. We have book references, articles. There's about 100 articles that we cover in the class, over 200 slides that I put together as well. And there are also video clips, including excerpts of interviews I've done with some of our historians and scholars, as well as Runoko Rashidi, Professor James Small, Anthony Browder, Professor Kabahaya Wafa Kamene, and Dr. David Imhotep. In the second class, that I teach. It's called Black Resistance Movements from the Haitian Revolution, the U.S. Civil War, Civil Rights Movement, and Black Power Movement, 1800 to 1968. And we dig in deep and look at history chronologically from 1800 to 1968 and look at what leads to the Civil War taking place. We study the Jim Crow era, the Reconstruction era, 1865 to 1877, World War I, World War II, Civil Rights Movement, Black Power Movement, and the Great Migration, 1915 and 1970, to understand what happened to us after slavery ended, what were the laws and policies put in place to put us where we are today, to understand where we need to go from here. I created both of these classes, created the curriculum, chose the content as well. This sale ends Sunday, January 7th, 2024. Visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. You'll see the promotion at the top of the page. As soon as you register, you can start watching the content. You can join us for our next online class live Sunday, January 7th, 2024 at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can watch all of these classes on demand, and even after the course is over with, you don't lose access. Register right now, order right now. Visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. This sale ends Sunday, January 7th, 2024. Also, if you'd like to stop it for information, you can support the African History Network, $, the AHN Show through Cash App, $, the AHN Show through Cash App, also through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN Show. This helps us keep doing the research, stay on the air, keep broadcasting, pay some of the bills. All right, we have to get out of here. Remember, right now it's correct wrong behavior is not over till we win. We'll